Welcome to week 16 of our 17-week series as we take you through an in-depth look of our construction process of your new Palm Harbor home. This week, we present the conclusion of the manufacturing process.
Welcome back, folks. I'm Howard Broughton with Cavco Palm Harbor in Fort Worth, and today we're going to talk about the final finishing of the home and what goes on in function tests. So as you can see, the house is set up in the function test, and you notice that the ground is wet. That's where they let the water out because they had filled up the tubs and things on the inside. Make sure there's no leaks. Let's go inside and let's look at the things we do for testing. Let's take a look here at what goes on with the water heater. They got the door off so the inspectors can come in and look at it, but you see how that's sealed down in the bottom? So they got to inspect this to make sure not a bug or an ant or anything can get in where these pipes go through. The cold water's coming in, goes into the 50-gallon water heater shown here. You see how they strapped it up at the top so that thing doesn't move as we go down the highway? Also, this is a hot, oh, that's warm. This is a hot water line coming out. Guess what red means? Guess what blue means? So they get them right. This is the pop-off valve. And notice on these, that goes to the outside. So anytime that water heater 15 years, 20 years from now, if it were to go faulty, that pops off to the outside. Labeling is also done. Here is the drain for the pan. You notice there's a pan under the water heater? Well, that drain is connected right here and comes to the outside, once again, of your home. So that water heater is now ready for the inspector to look at before they case it up and get ready to ship it. Let's move down to here. Here's another thing that they do in the function test. They put all these labels on. These labels tell you where there's some outlets of utilities that are coming out. This particular one is the raceway that comes from the panel box on the inside. It is labeled and put onto the outside. Over here, you're going to find where there's a label for the fresh water connection. There's the dryer vent. That's been sealed off. So these are already labeled on there. And on the end of the home, let's look at some of the things that go on in a house during the function test. For example, in the windows. These blinds are looked at. They make sure they ship them up. They're installed. They got free access on each side. The windows are the type that will tilt in, easy to clean. You want to make sure that the plungers are put on them so that the windows will work and operate properly. Lock that down. In the kitchen, let's look at that. Some of the things that are tested in here, they want to run water through the system to make sure the drains work properly, that there's no leaks underneath, that the water system works fine. So they'll run water through here. That's why we saw water out in front of that house we were standing in earlier. That's being done. Appliances will get installed. As the appliances go to get installed, there's a strapping on there that holds that in place so that when we ship it down the highway, these things don't move out of those spots. Furthermore, you can see there's a plug on that one. Let's look at the refrigerator just as well. On the refrigerator, when it goes in, our guys will go ahead and put in the water line for the ice maker. That's already connected and it's plugged in. And of course, the strapping is there to hold the refrigerator in place. That's all being done. So when you get there and you turn electricity on, your water on, your refrigerator is going to work properly. It's another thing that's installed. Another item that goes on during the function test, this is the panel box cover that would go over the electrical panel box 200 amp service. The technician comes in and they will write down where each one of these circuits, what they're for. So when that panel box goes up, you know exactly what those breakers are for that go in there. During this process of coming through the production line, notice too there's a green dot that is on the cover of all our receptacles and switches. That means that that has been inspected. Someone has flipped those switches to make sure they work. And notice one like this one has USB ports in it. So you not only have electricity, but you got USB ports for charging the phones or chargers for computers and that sort of thing. But we can tell at any time where they may have had a break and somebody went to lunch, but when they came back, they know exactly where they're started because they're watch these green dots to make sure everything's been tested. So here's a home where the cleaning process has already been completed. And as you can see, everything is cleaned up. There's no debris on the floor. There's nothing laying around on the countertops, no inspection forms. It's all been wiped down and ready to go. The lights are still on it. And notice too, here, look at the refrigerator. It's already strapped in, so it's ready to stay in its spot as it ships down the highway. Countertops are wiped off. Inspectors have been in, looked at all the touch-up areas. And the doors have been checked to make sure they operate properly. And one thing you can see, this is very stiff 4-wheel plastic that has been put onto the home and readying it for shipping. This is not a long-term item. This is the item that acts for this construction, puts this in here and protects your home in the transportation process, along with these shipping braces. As we go to the next station, we want to take a moment to show you what the house looks like when it's ready for transportation and going down the highway. The plastic has been installed, the strapping has been put onto it. That plastic is rolled into a OSB type of strip down at the bottom, and of course up at the top. It's pulled very tight so it stays steady and tight as it goes down the highway. This is ready for the setup crews, then we'll take it off so they can put the two sections together. This goes on every home, and it goes on in this fashion, very tight. Protects your home. Folks, now we're at the construction site. This home has just been delivered and set up by the setup crews on the outside portion of the construction of the home. It is getting prepared and ready to be set up for our factory trim out crews. And notice too, it has the light electricity already on it. We'd like to have the light and the water so when the guys do finish up the home, they can actually put it all together and test those things as they go through the function testing of those items as it's set up. We ship in every home a shipping kit that is used and designed for each home specifically with the colors that are ordered on that home. You're going to see a transition bar to match the floor. You're going to see block moldings to match up the center line, which the factory trim out crews will get all that done. We ship paints, we ship drywall, shingles also here to match up that goes down the crown of the roof as it is being set up. So you've got everything here you need to match with your house. What gets left you need to store. See here is the home is 90% complete as it goes together and they get set up. Our factory trim out crews are going to come in and do the rest. The interior is already opened up. The support beams are taken out. You can see you have the raw materials that are sitting here. That's where the setup kit is going to have put all that in and finish that out by the factory trim out crew. Let's go here and let me show you typically what the walls are going to look like. These walls have been prepped at the factory. And of course they don't have the coverings over them where the seams are. The block molding needs to be put on. This is at the center line, and when it's all finished out, you won't really know that that's where the two sections went together. But this shows you typically the way the house is going to come into you, and then the factory trim out crews will come in and finish all this out, plus that by the floor. Just like in the master bedroom, there's some areas on this end of the hall that also need to be finished out by the factory trim out crew. Notice how the angles are raw materials, and then the block moldings will go on. Block moldings around the doors, up at the ceiling. There'll be a piece up there that finishes that out, as well as the floor. And you can see these will be cut off, so they'll fit above the block molding. And then you can see here, more gypsum panel will be put onto there, and the close-up piece will be put in, and that should finish off to the house. Let's go look at what the house looks like when the factory trim out crew is done. Wow, folks, this is when the factory trim out crew has done their job, and look how clean and neat and straight lined all the center line work is done. The transition bar is put down on the floor. It's all finished out. It's ready for you to move in. So you can see everything is completed. All the touch-up's been done. Corners have been painted off. Doors are all clean. Block molding's been put in. Barn door's been checked. Kitchen's all cleaned up. Walk through here, let's look at what they've done. Cleaned up the ceilings, cleaned up the center line, wiped down the countertops, picked up all their debris when they walked out of the house. This is ready for you to move in, just get your groceries. Beautiful home. As we saw in the previous home, there was a setup kit that was sitting into the floor. All that is not used. It's there for design, because for the consumer, for you, you get to use that. And here, we're showing you where we stored it in one of the rooms. And then you got some shingles, you got paint that matches the house, you got paints and pieces of pipe and plumbing and things that are in here. Those are to be used by you after the factory trim out crew has gone. Maybe you move your furniture in, you nick something, you have the paint that matches the house where you can fix that and get that done on your own. Folks, I hope you enjoyed this as much as we have in the last 16 weeks on showing you how Palm Harbor builds their homes. And now at the end of this conclusion here, we're going to have a question and answer period for next week. If there are some questions that you may have, you might want to reply to the information at the bottom of the screen. And if you would like to experience the real home that we have sitting here or go through a factory tour, contact us at the information applied below. We have tours going on daily at 9:15 and 12:30 each day. contact us. We can have you go through the factory and you can see it in person. Until next week, we'll see you then at the question and answer period.